I'm just actually almost finished my next book. And one of the things I just said in there that anytime we face a challenge, we have a huge mountain to climb over. And that mountain is between our ears.
I love it.
Yeah. We are always, and people would say, Dennis, well, what's your biggest obstacle? I always go, me, because that's the truth. And so I think I write the books more for me than anybody else. Hopefully everybody else enjoys them, but
yeah.
We all need that little bit of tough love. That I remember somebody saying, getting that loving kick in the ass.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top-quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson back for another edition of the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. You've got it locked to the Audacious Living Podcast, and I appreciate you for being here as we continue our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. As always, I encourage you to follow us on our social media channels. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is where you can find us. Or if you are watching this episode on a YouTube channel, then you can stay connected by tapping that bell down below, ding, 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 and that way you're staying on top of all things audacious related. We talk a lot on this podcast about adversity and how important it is for us to work through challenges as they arise, and we do so with good reason. Life isn't a cakewalk, and we're going to encounter instances that literally will freeze us in our tracks. But we each have to keep moving forward at all costs. And if we're able to develop an acceptance of this, then we're already halfway there. Today's guest is Dennis McCurdy, and he's had a successful entrepreneurial career in the real estate and insurance space, and he's also an author. His latest book is entitled Suck It Up, Cupcake, Stop Screwing Yourself and Get the Life You Want. As evident in the title, he understands the power of acceptance, and you'll enjoy it. Our conversation is a great chat, lots of nuggets, lots of insights. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Dennis McCurdy. Enjoy. Dennis, how are you? This is it, the Audacious Living Podcast. Welcome back, I guess. I know we've been trying to record this a few times, so welcome again. Welcome back. How are you?
Great. We're like kindred spirits now, It's like
we're just really good at what we do, I guess.
Dancing around the computer models there or whatever.
It's it. Yeah. We've, I guess for our listeners, we let listeners know that we've been, we had our fair share of technical difficulties, and I believe this is our third attempt.
Yes.
It's done, and it will get done. And if it doesn't get done, it'll take a fourth attempt or fifth attempt, because the insights that you have to share, Dennis, quite frankly, are too valuable not to. And so I want to thank you first off again for joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. Let's get right into it. Let's start with your book, Dennis. I think it's a starting point. So let me back up here. I think the most important thing in your messaging and the work that you do is that you want individuals and people to know that they have control of their lives. They've got to go out and go after the things that's intended for them, and not sort of sit back and cry and wallow in the tears of self-pity. Right. Because again, everything is all within our reach.
Absolutely.
Your book, Suck It Up,
Suck It Up, Cupcake.
I wonder if you could sort of run us through and tell us about what that's all about.
Well, Suck It Up, Cupcake is basically suck it up, cupcake, stop screwing yourself and get the life you want. Because for the most part, we screw ourselves. I'm just actually almost finished my next book. And one of the things I just said in there that anytime we face a challenge, we have a huge mountain to climb over. and that mountain is between our ears.
I love it.
We are always, and people would say, Dennis, well, what's your biggest obstacle? I always go, me, because that's the truth. And so I think I write the books more for me than anybody else. Hopefully everybody else enjoys them, but
Yeah.
we all need that little bit of tough love. That I remember somebody saying, getting that loving kick in the ass. Because when we grow up, we have coaches and we have parents and we have teachers and all these people to guide us. But once we become an adult, unless we have a really good boss or mentor, we're kind of out there. And so I think Suck It Up is about sucking it up. One of the chapters is mastermind. So finding a coach, a mentor. In fact, the whole next book is going to be called The Magic of Mastermind. And let me just give you a quick example of how that works, because this is good. So for 2 years, I've been going to buy a van for my business.
Okay.
And put all the advertising on it. So we drive it around town, we park it in places, all these type of things. And I'd see a van, and I go, oh, maybe I can get it for cheaper. Or I see, and I went on it for 2 years. And I missed the good opportunities I had 2 years ago. I could have gotten the van 2 years ago. So I told one of my right-hand people, Justin, I said, Justin, if I don't have a van in 10 days, I'm going to give you $1,000. Guess what? I had a van in 3 days. But if somebody wants to accomplish something, if they really want to accomplish something, bringing somebody else in on it like that, and then putting a penalty, because we don't like penalties.
Right. Good point.
We're very loss adverse. In fact, it takes 2.5 times more possibility of gain versus loss to get somebody to take action.
Gotcha.
So penalties work well.
So why is it, Dennis, that we get in our own way and stop ourselves from success? What's going on to make that happen? That allows that to happen?
Well, number one, we're never taught about how our brain or our mind works. We're never taught about the fact that everything we have or everything we do, we basically learn from somebody or somewhere.
Okay.
And not all those things are good for us or helpful for us. From the media to even some forms of religion, I mean, it's always about keeping us down rather than pushing us up.
Right.
In fact, there was a minister, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I think it's like Chisholm or something, who in the 1940s stood in front of his congregation and said, "It is a sin to be poor in America."
Mm-hmm.
There are so many opportunities. There's so much possibility. If we can get over that mountain in our head, if we can get out of our own way and move forward, and we all do it. I mean, I don't care how successful you are, and even people who are extremely successful will sometimes throw obstacles in their way.
Yes.
They self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? It's crazy. But so learning about ourselves and how our brain works and how we work is absolutely crucial. I think it was Michelangelo that said it's not about victory over others, it's about victory over ourselves.
I wonder, Dennis, do you sort of touch on that, how the brainwave works and how it relates to our actions? Just so I think, because what I'm thinking is be able to provide listeners with sort of call it a map or an image or something vivid that they can identify for themselves in terms of behaviors.
Sure. Well, we're constantly learning from the time we're born till the day we die.
Okay.
A lot of that learning came about when we're 0 to 7 years old or 0 to 12 years old. That's when a lot of impressions are made on us that we're totally unaware of. We have no control.
Yes.
It's just happening. And so all of those things get programmed into our subconscious mind. And so if you picture an iceberg, okay? 10% of the iceberg is above the water. 90% of it's below the water. The 10% is our conscious mind. The 90% are subconscious or unconscious mind, and it runs below the radar. But that runs automatically, and it acts in milliseconds. And so it acts based on not what we're thinking consciously, but on what's been programmed into us. And that's where the fears come from, all the negative beliefs come from, all the obstacles we throw in our own way. It's all from that. And again, we didn't put most of that in there. We've just acquired it over time. So we're in that constant fight or battle with ourselves.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
It's just so wild when you think about the idea that we're holding ourselves back. Like,
absolutely.
It's some counterproductive, backwards, whatever word you want to insert there. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
None. But that's the human nature, our human beings, I guess. But I was at a Toastmasters meeting last night, and I didn't get this question, but I wish I had.
Mhm.
And that was, they were asked, what should we be teaching people in school that we don't? And I said, besides finances, it should be how your mind works, how you create these behaviors, because that's that's the whole thing. That's the whole ball game.
Right. And again, the piece that I just find really fascinating is that, the ability to improve our position in life, or even create a better life, it's there for us.
Right.
But we're the ones holding ourselves back. It just, I know I'm sort of reiterating that again, but it's just
No.
so phenomenal to me.
It's I guess it's a $64,000 question, right? Why do we do that? Because I always like this saying, I never knew who said it, so I'm going to take credit for it.
Sure.
It's like America's this huge, delicious chocolate cake surrounded by hungry people too afraid to take a bite.
Wow.
Wow. Because let's be real. I just barely made out of high school. I missed 35 days of school my senior year. 2 times I was suspended. So I think they just graduated me to get rid of me. I went in the service, came out, did 1 semester of college, and then started in the business world.
Right.
If I can do it, why can't anybody else do it?
What was driving you then to achieve?
I have no idea. I just saw opportunity, and I said, I think I can do that. And I kind of fell in love with business, marketing and business, and I've always had a little sales in me. I started selling Boy Scout stuff like greeting cards and Christmas cards door to door when I was a kid. I'd order them out of Boys Life magazine, had them sent to my house, and I go, hey, you want to buy some Christmas cards? And I learned from that. I learned that, some people will buy, some won't. Don't take it personally. It's like Jack Falvey says, some will, some won't. So what? Next.
Love it. Straight down to the point.
Yeah. And it's so you have to learn to be willing to accept criticism. That's a tough one for us.
Yeah.
And say, hey, maybe they're right this time. Maybe I need you to fix that.
Let's talk about that criticism piece, because that for a lot of people is a tough one, just because of the fact that I realize that you don't like to be criticized, but because people get really defensive about it, don't they?
Absolutely, and that it was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, "No one can make you upset without your permission." And I try to tell my staff that sometimes they think I'm crazy, but it's true. It's like you have to take it in yourself and say, oh, maybe I am a jerk, or whatever. There's something in you that has to agree with what the person's saying. And it could be really deep in your subconscious mind. You don't even fully consciously realize it. But we need to listen to that, because self-awareness is absolutely crucial. And I always tell people, we can't repair if we're not aware.
Right.
So, yeah, we have to be And that's the hardest, probably suckiest work there is, right?
Yes, there is.
Being honest with ourselves.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
And come to terms with that. Because I think a part of that is also being forgiving of our own mistakes, right? Like
Right.
if you do something, I screwed up, oh, I should have done better. A lot of people will beat themselves up and stay down and beat themselves down as opposed to sort of acknowledging it. Okay, what can I do next? Sort of a thing.
Right. How can I improve? One of the things I wrote in the book was, if beating yourself up really worked, you'd be perfect by now.
I love
And
those letters, Dennis. They're awesome, but it's
it's
true.
true, right?
It's true. It's very, very
It's,
true.
it's like just say F up, get up. You're gonna,
Yeah.
uh,
And why I like that is it forces you not to wait, right? Like you think of, as we sort of talked about, in all the opportunities in America, right? And so
right.
you think that they are there for you, but it's a matter of you taking that first initial step, taking that
Right.
action, and to go after, as opposed to waiting and seeing.
Right. And I think somewhere you've got to get that message from somebody that you can do that, and you've got to take that in. I remember years ago, there's a guy named Nido Qubein who was a very famous speaker. I think he was from Argentina or someplace like that originally, but he came here, he was poor, and he started seeing books in the back of he was a doorman somewhere in Florida at a hotel, and he started looking in the back of people's cars, taking the bags out. He'd see a book about this, a book about that, and he thought, well, these rich people are reading these books, maybe I should read them. So he started going to the library and getting these books and reading them.
Yep.
And he developed a whole business model and career. And he said one thing which I thought was important. He said that someone who immigrates here is 4 times more likely to become a millionaire than someone who was born here. And it's because they come here with a hunger. Who was it? I'm trying to remember the famous guy. He used to always go, "You got to be hungry." He had a lot of stuff out there years ago, and I can't remember his name right now. But yeah,
sounds familiar. It's gonna come to me.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's what he's talking about. No, but I get your. I mean, I don't want to deter. I get your point, and you do have to be hungry. You have to go after.
In fact, there's a really funny story I read years ago about Sly Stallone, Rocky.
Okay.
And he was basically trying to make it as an actor, and nobody wanted to give him jobs. They said he went to 1,500 agents in New York City, and nobody would give him a job. They said, "You look stupid, you sound dumb." But it's not even 1,500 agents in New York City, but he kept going back and back and back. Finally, he was watching this movie with I forget who the fighters. One of them was this guy named they call him the Bayonne Bleeder.
Okay.
And some guy was beating the crap out of him. But the guy kept getting up and getting up and getting up.
Yeah.
And he watched that fight, and then he went home that night and he wrote Rocky.
Oh.
And he decided to try to sell it. Nobody wanted to buy the movie because first of all, he wanted to play the leading role, and they kept saying, "No way, no way." So somebody offered him $250,000 for it, but he couldn't play the part.
Okay.
And then he went back and they offered him 100,000. He wouldn't, but they kept raising the ante up. So he started 100, then he went to a quarter, still wouldn't do it. Finally, they said, "Okay, you can play the part, we'll give you 35 grand. Now at that time he's starving. He already sold his dog to pay the rent. And somebody said, "Why don't you get a job?" And he said, "If I got a job, I would give up my dream. I'd give up my hunger."
Yes.
And we all know what happened after that, right? So
yeah. So that in my mind is being very, very clear on what you want, and then not letting anything deter you from that, even if it's
right.
a job that will provide you income and money, right?
Right.
They'd be very, very focused.
Because Mark Twain said, which is so, I think, relevant, that comfort makes cowards of us all. As soon as we start to get a little comfort, we don't want to take any chances anymore. Things are good enough the way they are. And maybe they are, but then again, maybe they're not. Maybe we've got too much inside of us that we're not letting out because we're comfortable for the moment. And So
Gotcha.
I think it's that you got to constantly stay uncomfortable.
No, I get you. And I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Talking about what the compound effect is, Dennis.
The compound effect. Well, it's compound effect kind of ties into cause and effect. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the most powerful law there is the law of cause and effect, because every effect has a cause.
Okay.
And every effect compounds. So everything we do in our life compounds to something else.
Right.
Just like interest. So you go to the gym, you work out, it compounds. You don't go to the gym, you don't work out, it compounds.
Right.
You know, you start an investment portfolio, small, but keep doing it, it compounds. Everything, you're nice to people, it compounds. Everything has that ripple effect in our life. And so we have to remember that number one, it takes time. Actually, just finished a meeting with a client who came in to see me 40 years ago, and we wanted to do some investing.
Right.
And I said, okay, I have this fund. You can start with $1,000 and $50 a month. He says, I can't afford it.
Okay.
So we found a fund that would do $250 to start with and $25 a month. And he scraped the money together to do that.
Okay.
But he kept raising it, and every time he got a raise, he'd add more money. He went to work. I got a new job, got a 401k. He said, with this next 6 months, the way things are going, he'll probably be over $1 million.
Wow.
So from $25, $250 and $25 to $1 million.
Wow. So
But it's that he compounded his savings, he compounded his investments.
Yeah. And I think as well too, a key to our success, there's a part where we got to be very, very deliberate in what we do, right?
Yes.
And we have to be very intentional and deliberate that we're going after the things that we're after.
Right.
I don't know if you could talk about the significance of being deliberate.
Well, you have to know. Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you could end up somewhere else. And you need to have some kind of a plan. Now, I'm not a great planner in the sense of I get too many ideas and too many things I want to do. But I'm good at the sense that I know that I can't do everything, so I can find people to do the things I suck at. And that's really a big secret. As soon as you can, find somebody to do the things that you're not good at. And that's why a lot of people in business, you'll have one person who's the marketing, get out there and sell and do everything.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to do the back office stuff too.
Right.
If it doesn't get done, we all can't be the pretty faces out there, right? And those people are absolutely important. So that's really, really important. And then that compounds exponentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing is, I talked a little bit about in the book is deliberate practice.
Okay.
This is based on a work by K. Anders Ericsson. He wrote a book called Peak Performance. He was a professor down in Florida.
Yep.
And it was all about, the fact that we all have certain abilities, and it's really the practicing and refining of those abilities that make us the superstar. The talent will carry you so far, but the guy who will outwork the talented person will pass them.
Yes.
So out there, you guys, you got to suck it up and you got to keep going and keep getting better, little by little by little.
I think there's an important part when we talk about suck it up and keep going is adversity, Dennis. We're all going to experience difficult times, challenging moments. Adversity can knock us off our course, throw us back light years if we let it. What's a good strategy to overcoming adversity?
I think that number one, remind ourselves that we're not alone. That I think one of the key things for us is to make sure that we have support in our life. Human beings need support. In fact, in the old days, the worst punishments weren't death, they were banishment or exile, solitary confinement, keeping us away from other people.
Right.
So having a support team, and that's why part of the whole concept of the magic of mastermind is going to be about having a goal buddy, accountability partner, a
Right.
mentor, a coach.
So important.
Absolutely. And because when things start to suck, you need somebody there to say, help you say it's going to be okay. You just got to keep going,
Right.
And I can't speak to being, fortunately, I've been very healthy, but I mean, I know people go through some really horrific things, and I just absolutely admire them, the way that the diligence and the tenacity that they have. It's just wow.
As you sort of talk about that support team, going back to that point, man, about having the right people around you. For the longest time I can remember, I used to really believe in the power of that I'm a self-made man and everything I've done is by myself, and it was a very silly notion. I'm not even sure where it came. It may not even have been mine, but for some reason it was a thought that was there. And it wasn't until I started to get deeper and sort of even the personal development work and the coaching, and I'm like, yeah, it's we got to where we got to with the help of someone else.
Absolutely.
No one got where we got on our own, right? And
That's right.
It's always as you talked about. That's certainly one of the things that come to my mind.
Yeah, I think I like that. When you say team, it means together, each of us achieves more.
Yes.
And so one of the things I think I told you about the first time was the concept in the book of kisses.
Okay.
Keep it simple, sustainable, easy, and supported. So a little bit at a time, but the support is the kick in the butt, is the somebody there when things go wrong.
Yes.
It's the encouragement. It's all of those things that we need.
It's so true. And again, I don't know if it's possible to achieve any measure of success with some form of support. And support can come in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be just one thing, right? It doesn't have to be resources. It could be time. It could be energy. It could be the belief, right? Hey, someone believes in me, right? So I think having a right support system is so key.
Absolutely. And talk about when you say about the believing in you, I heard when I was reading years ago, Bob Dylan wrote a biography, autobiography rather, and he was talking about playing all these coffee houses around New York City. Now nobody knew who he was, but he got this gig at this wrestling venue.
Okay.
And he was like out in the reception area singing and playing his songs, before the wrestling match started. And it was this guy named Gorgeous George was the wrestler. I don't really know who he is, but you know how they had those weird names back in those days. I remember Killer Kowalski and those guys, but yeah. But he said that when he was in there playing, he said Gorgeous George walked by him, looked up at him, and he said, I don't know what he was thinking, but he said, what I took out of it was, you're doing a great job, kid, you're making this. Mm-hmm. And he said, I took that belief in from somebody who didn't even say anything to me.
Right.
And that gave me the oomph to keep going.
Right.
So belief is huge.
That's right. And it's so funny. It can come, like I said, it can come in all different forms. When it comes, it's like, okay. And sometimes you just need one person.
Yeah, that's all. And it's funny, interesting, because if you think about it, every time, anytime we're working with someone else, we always work a little harder.
Sure. Good point.
And that's because it's just the way we're built.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that. But it's true. You want to do a bit more to help people and get them to maybe be proud of you.
Not let the team down.
Yeah.
We'll let ourselves down, but we won't let the team down.
Right. Very interesting. Interesting how our mind works in that regard, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing. But again, we're social beings.
Yes.
So
I love it.
No man is an island, right?
This is true. This is very, very true. Again, the whole idea of finding a way to get what you want is just so powerful. I thank you for sharing that. For listeners that wanted to grab a copy of your book, Dennis, where can we send them?
They can get it on Amazon.com, obviously. They can also go to my website, DennisMcCurdy.com. And they can sign up for my weekly thought. I've been doing it for probably 10 years now, thought
Wow.
of the week. So it's short and sweet. It's like Monday morning and it's 2-minute read. But I get a lot of people who write back and go, hey, I love those, just what I needed.
Well, and see, and that goes back to the support thing again. And we're not here by ourselves, and so that's a perfect example where you're, putting all these weekly thoughts, and someone is ingesting it, taking it, and being very appreciative because it's giving them sort of what they need in that moment or helping them in some way. That's so important. It really is.
And I have a friend of mine who was name is Doug Danger. He's
Okay.
a world champion motorcycle jumper.
Okay.
In 2015, he jumped Evel Knievel's motorcycle over 22 cars at Sturgis in South Dakota.
Okay.
A jump that Evel Knievel didn't make.
Wow.
And that's after having stage 4 cancer 2 years earlier. And he told the doctor, doctor said to him, he said, you're going to die. He said, you got 6 months. He goes, I don't have any chance. And he said, 5%. He said, that's all I need. And he's still around.
Amazing.
And so he said he keeps my book I wrote a book called 52 Ways to Find a Way, which are 52 of those blogs.
Yes.
He said he keeps it by his bed.
It's powerful.
So
powerful. Oh my gosh. So powerful. Thanks for sharing that story, Dan. That's awesome. And again, thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your journey. Again, the whole idea of continuing to push through and finding a way, and whether we're pushing through external challenges or the internal ones with us between our brain, you said, and our brain. So
that's the biggest one.
That is. It's so fascinating how impactful that is and holds us back. So
absolutely.
So thank you for the insights and congratulations on the work, Dennis. This is awesome.
Thank you, and congratulations that we made it through another one. Hopefully the computer's good.
We did. We're good.
I enjoyed talking to you, so we can do it again. I don't care.
And you know what? If that happens again, so be it. Let's do it again. But no, thank you. This is great. And for our listeners, again, this is Dennis McCurdy and his book. It's really powerful in terms of pushing people past their own limits, right? So not pushing past the limits, pushing past their own limits.
Their own limits,
to go and do fantastic stuff. So again,
yes.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Thank you.
Back we are on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Dennis for being here and explaining why it's important for us to understand the power of acceptance and not letting adversity hold us back. Also, do remember his book, Suck It Up Cupcake, Stop Screwing Yourself and Get the Life You Want. It's available on his website, and I'd strongly encourage you to pick yourself up a copy. So again, thanks so much, Dennis, for being here. I really appreciated so much of what Dennis had to share in our conversation today. But if there's just one thing I take from our chat, it would have to be this. Life, with all its twists and turns, seldom adheres to our plans. Even the most meticulously crafted paths are bound to be disrupted by unexpected challenges. It's in those moments it can be tempting to give up and retreat from the storm. However, it's precisely during these times that we must remind ourselves of the importance of staying strong and pushing forward. Let us explore why it's essential to embrace life's challenges and why we should suck it up and keep going. First off, when we persevere through difficult situations, we develop crucial life skills such as problem solving, adaptability, and patience. Each hurdle we overcome adds depth and richness to our character, making us more resilient individuals, capable of taking on anything that comes our way. By overcoming adversity, we train ourselves to become more adaptable, enabling us to navigate life's uncertainties more effectively. Remember, the most successful people in history triumphed not because they had an easy journey, but because they refused to give up when faced with setbacks. Let's learn from their example and use the challenges life presents as stepping stone towards a more resilient mindset. When we conquer life's challenges, particularly the ones that make us doubt our abilities, our self-confidence blossoms. Every time we break through barriers and accomplish what we once thought was impossible, we reinforce the belief that we are capable of conquering anything. Our ability to face challenges with determination and resilience often inspire those around us. By sharing our struggles, experiences, and eventual victories, we show others that they too can overcome obstacles in their own lives. Our actions have the power to ignite a spark of hope and motivate others to persevere the same way we did. Life's challenges are not sent to destroy us, but to strengthen our resilience, shape our character, and foster personal growth. The ability to face adversity head on, refusing to succumb to despair or frustration, is a testament to our inner strength. As we overcome each hurdle, we evolve into more capable, confident, and compassionate individuals. Remember, it's in the face of these challenges that our potential emerges, and with each setback, an opportunity for growth awaits. So let's embrace these challenges, suck it up, and keep moving towards a brighter, more audacious future. We've sadly reached the end of another episode of the Audacious Living Podcast. And as always, I send my thanks and appreciation to our amazing listeners, all those lovers of Audaciousness, for their ongoing tremendous support. It's always appreciated, and this podcast keeps going because of you. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.